Tevez da solo, Tevez al limite dell'area, li fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. Of course, it's all Juve all the time, and I wish we were here to celebrate a victory, but instead we're going to be discussing a draw away to Sampdoria.
Not bad.
Not bad. I have a feeling it's going to be yin and yang here today.
We'll get to it.
Between me and Ed, but we'll say hi to all these loyal supporters here we've got in here. And wow, let's just throw out some of these right out of the gate here. Allegri out, enough said. I think we've all had enough of this BS. Okay, Dan, ciao please. Guys. Oh boy, today's going to be a long one, eh? We'll see. Bob, Masha, here we go. 2 steps back already. Ooh, even Bobby.
Stop it, Bob.
Let's see what we got. Lucci, Alberto got. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But there's many more in here. Ciao tutti, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into news headlines before we recap the game, just to let you know what's in the news, and then we'll get more involved in the news should we after the match recap. Okay. Quick reminder for anybody that's listening to this on your audio outlets: get over to YouTube. That's where all the fun takes place, and subscribe there. We've got all daily update videos as well, not just these great lives, which is an awesome way for us to interact with all of you. But get over there and do it. Now, let's get to the news headlines. There's not a whole bunch other than, the same storyline between Depay and Milik. Today, apparently, is the day that Allegri's sitting down with the management, and they're going to figure out which way they act in the Mercato. I don't know about all of you, Juventini, but I can definitely assure you that while I watched yesterday's game, and I watched it twice, I had a second viewing. Yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment. I definitely did not say, you know what's missing? Arkadiusz Milik. Okay, so I'll promise you that. I did not say, hey, we need Milik. Definitely did not say that. Ant, did you?
No, not at all. I don't even know how to pronounce his first name, so that definitely did not come into my mouth. That's for sure.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if we go out and we do get Depay, I just personally feel so much has to change fundamentally that it's kind of crazy for us to continue to just put this weight on the bigger guys and be like, hey, sort it out. Put them on the pitch and sort it out. I need to see more established from the base. But news all the same on Depay Milik. Fagioli today, it's funny. We've been talking about these young guys, and it changes every day. But Fagioli, the one that's most likely to be sent out as far as today's news goes. And we'll get into the youngsters, obviously, after match recap. The last little tidbit is that there are somewhere between 10 and 20 clubs that are facing sanctions from UEFA for financial fair play. From the 2020-21 season. Some of the notables are obviously Roma, Inter, Barcelona, PSG, and Juventus. Some of those teams have entered discussions with UEFA. We all know where Juventus, Barcelona, and Real Madrid stand. They are actually ongoing court battles in order to continue on with Super League. So a little interesting headline there that we could possibly bring up later, but there's still too much unknown, and you got to just kind of wait that one out to see how it's really, truly going to unfold, okay? But news headlines out of the way, let's get to the match itself.
Before we get to the match there, Al, I got something for you. Do you think that potential sanction and fines affected their Mercato this summer? Do you think they knew something was coming down the pipe? They said, okay, maybe we can't spend the whole war chest. Maybe you don't have an answer for that, but it's something to think about.
That's interesting. It's interesting to think about for sure, because we've been asking the question for a while, and it's led me to believe that the budget is not where it stands because of the fact we've moved quite well and also not actually spent. Spent very little, had to come out of pocket a little bit on the Bremer deal because the De Ligt money didn't necessarily come in, but it's a very, very good point that maybe, just maybe, something was coming down the line, and they kind of were prepared. So it's interesting.
Like, like when you have like your heating bill coming up, it's coming, and your wife knows it's coming, but you still go out and buy a new Juventus jersey. Like, that you shouldn't buy it, but you do it anyways.
Oh yeah. Speaking to me, like prime. Well, yeah. That's what I do. Okay.
I know.
Lineup: Perin in goal. Danilo went with Rugani. I was fine with Rugani or Gatti, to be honest. Bremer, Sandro, McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot, Quadrado, Vlahovic, and Kostic. Okay, so that was the starting lineup. Honestly, on the lineup, with this Sampdoria and what I saw with them facing, Atalanta and whatnot, and how they should be taking advantage of this lineup, honestly, should have been able to effectively put them under. We talked about it in the match day live. There are spaces that they naturally create in this 4-1-4-1 that Sampdoria plays. Shockingly enough, as the match played out, we matched them in a 4-1-4-1, which was bizarre, based on how you're asking McKennie and Rabiot to play. Strange, straight stuff. But it's, very, very strange. Anyways, should have been enough in that lineup. We're going to get to the quick highlight reel before we get into an overview. Sampdoria, basically, Juve getting very, very fortunate early on. Okay, nice cross through. Bremer misplays it and misses it. Perin does well to come out, get a piece. Luckily for us, it was enough to get it deflected upwards off the crossbar back into his hands. But yeah.
See, that one, great pass, great run. Like that is like an unbelievable set play that they had there. Bremer just got wrong-footed. That can happen to any defender. He was moving one way and the ball went the other. But that's why you pay the big bucks or you bring in top goaltenders, because when the game's kind of slow and you're not really expecting a lot of shots, you're going to need your goaltender to come up with one big save, and that was it. That saved the game. Other than that, Sampdoria did nothing. But you need them to make that one big save, and he did it.
I disagree that it was a great pass. It had some mustard on it, but Bremer should have. I think he should have. I think he would have 100% like looked back on that like, Jesus, how do I miss that one, right? But yeah. Immediately after that, not too long after, Quadrado. So we get a long ball coming out wide. Defender Sampdoria tries to chest it down and take it on the run. Gets caught. Quadrado running in, shoots it right at the keeper. Hard shot, but right at him. Obviously, immediate reaction seeing Vlahovic to the side there. Hindsight's 20/20, and he's staring down the barrel of an empty net. Here's the thing. When you watch this thing and you break it down, it's not as bad as it looked after you see Vlahovic standing there yelling. If you watch that play over, Vlahovic does very, very well to create that separation. But how he created the separation was, you've got Quadrado on the right, you've got Vlahovic on the left. Vlahovic starts to take an outside turn in order to get that defender to drop. The problem is, while he did that, immediately after he did that, Quadrado's head goes down because he's thinking, okay, he's going to follow this one up on potential rebound or something. The second he comes in, that would have been the time to slot the ball through, but he's already decision made. He's shooting it. And to be honest, in that spot,
everybody else is shooting that ball.
A lot of guys are going to start to just see for goal. I get it. The pass off, it was there. But in order for Vlahovic to create that space, he had to take an outside run first and then cut back in, and Quadrado just didn't read it. So it is what it is. It's an unfortunate one. You'd like to see more of chemistry there and those guys sharing and understanding. All you can do on that front is hope that with time, those guys start to figure each other out, right? But Ant, your thoughts on that particular play?
Again, I was with everybody in the comments saying, why didn't he pass that ball? But I watched again. You're 100% right. It's those split second decisions that when the ball carrier looks over, and if that guy's making a move one way, you said 100% right. Split second decision, and he was he was like not far from going 5-hole. That's where he was going. He was trying to go 5-hole in that one because the goaltender was giving it up. But
yeah.
Everybody else is shooting up. If that's Di Maria, I saw somebody write this yesterday on Twitter. If that's Di Maria, nobody has a problem with that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But again, I think if people broke it down and watch that, you'd see the timing of Vlahovic's run, and then when he freed up, and also look at the defender that's closing in on Cuadrado, because that pass, it's kind of gone too, because Cuadrado's almost gone slightly beyond that defender. So all of a sudden, to try and meg that player on a pass is a lot more challenging than flat across the face, right? So it's,
and then if you cut it back and if you cut it back and the defender cut it off, everyone would have said, "Why didn't you shoot it?"
Exactly. It's one of those plays. That's exactly how that play is going to work. It sucks that didn't work out for us. We carry on, and Kostic ended up having one of the better opportunities next to that one. And honestly, it was just getting the ball top of the area, cutting inside, taking a rip. It got deflected and forced Odero to tip it over the bar. Outside of that, we move further on into the match. Vlahovic making a good run. Miretti actually finding him. Rabiot making a great trailing run. They found him. It's in the back of the net. Rabiot, after all this, gets a goal, 1-0 up. Vlahovic offside. Offside, unfortunately. Rovella enters the mix for a brief cameo. He gets off a nice shot from the area, top of the area. Guayarella almost catches us off guard with a quick thinking little play. And he's that guy, no matter how old, he's got his wits about him that he can punish you like that. Luckily, he didn't. And then Keane actually with a great cross back post. This is pretty much a last opportunity for Juve, and Kostic does well, lashing onto it at the end of it. Just unfortunately, Odero stops it and whatnot. And
that's on his stronger. That's on his stronger left foot too, right?
Yeah. 0-0. There you go. We're going to get into our overviews of this match now, and I'm going to let Anthony kick this one off with how he feels about it overall.
Okay. I know a lot of people were doing this when they were watching the game, and now that I got to think about it, I got to talk about it, I'm going to do it again. So, we should not be surprised with how the team played, because this is a very similar formation to what we, and I'm putting myself, I'm saying we as a collective group. We sent this lineup out second half of last year, and they performed very similar to how they performed yesterday. So us being surprised, shame on us, because we shouldn't be surprised that with this formation, this is how this team is going to perform. So that's one knock against us. My main issue with yesterday was how we played last week with the players that Allegri brought in, Allegri's guys in his formation against Sassuolo. I thought it was a good game. It wasn't a great game, but it was a good game. You can see the positives, how things are going to roll. And then it's just like yesterday, it's night and day. I don't know how, and I don't know what the reason is how players can go from last week to this week and just like forget how to play. Like it to me, that's the most frustrating part, is how, okay, 0-0, it was a terrible game, but that's my main takeaway, is how we went from last week to this week and what changed. Like we have some of the same players out there, but if you take Di Maria out and all of a sudden everything falls apart, I don't even know how to explain it.
And that's fair. And that's a fair, judgment to make, because it's, how is it so different just taking Di Maria out of there? The actual shape we got into, everybody saw the photo. You've got Locatelli at the back to retrieve the ball between Rugani and Bremer. Mm-hmm. You have literally the rest of the team with the back line. Mm-hmm. They've completely abandoned the middle of the pitch between Rabiot and McKennie, and you're left wondering, what on earth are we doing? The problem that I have with yesterday's game is very similar to what Ant was saying, which is obviously, the drastic difference between Sassuolo, a better side than Sampdoria. Okay.
Yes, sir.
My personal opinion, a better side. you get to yesterday's match. There's so many issues I have with that. Number one, coming out flat, completely flat from a player standpoint, regardless of who's on the pitch. Unacceptable in my opinion. Like, there's certain standards that should never waver no matter who's on the pitch, okay? Because that's part of establishing an identity, establishing yourselves and whatnot. And for the players, again, constantly asking them to take a look in the mirror when they come out flat, completely flat, away from home, whatever, against a weaker side, even if that's not our strongest lineup, it's stronger than what they presented, okay? You cannot come out flat like that. The other issue I have with yesterday's game, you have cooling breaks. So you have a cooling break at 25 minutes and you can't sort out this massive gap. And the fact that when the ball gets to Cuadrado, when the ball gets to Kostic, there's literally no options for those players but to try and move forward and take those 1v1s, and everybody's just scattered. In terms of defensively, I saw McKennie run from the right side to the left side for them to just quickly loop a ball over, and then they're moving over the left flank of us. And then Locatelli slots out. He becomes the Mezzala. Rabiot's dropping into center. It was an absolute mess. Organizationally and structurally, that first half was beyond pathetic. Okay.
I would say defensively, I thought we were fine yesterday. I thought Rugani, he must have learned Portuguese this week because he had to play with the 3 Brazilian guys. But defensively, I thought there was that first little mishap at the beginning. Forced good save from Padin. But other than that, defensively, those 4 guys at the back, a couple of hiccups here and there, but they weren't the issue yesterday. It was the midfield.
And, defensively, fine. But a lot of that is Sampdoria. They were taking shots, any shots they could get from anywhere and whatnot. And maybe a stronger side punishes you. And they almost did outside that one Bremer should have intercepted. But I don't know. For me, regardless of the players on the pitch, there needs to be a standard withheld there that Max holds these guys to. And if it ain't happening, enter the young driven guys and the guys with legs and whatnot and see what happens, because second half, those guys came in. It's not coincidence that some of the game came a bit easier. Okay. And if you watch these guys, what's the difference? Well, to be honest, it could have backfired too, because the difference is they play quite freely. If you're looking at a guy like Moretti, he moves the ball and then he himself moves. Whereas some of these other guys, it's a lot of passing and standing. Off the ball movement in the first half, almost non-existent. Okay. Other than Vlahovic killing himself, trying to feed off scraps, absolute scraps.
There was one run there, and I put on Twitter because I was running the main yesterday, which is always fun. Sandro broke up the left. He broke up the left side, and he looked up and he saw Vlahovic and 4 blue jerseys, and he made the pass anyways.
Yeah. The thing I'm getting into with Moretti and even Rovella, when Rovella came in for a short period of time, it's risk. It's risk involved in how Moretti plays, different from those other guys, okay? And the fact is, he moves, he goes. Rovella was doing the same thing out of the regista position. And again, it could have got countered. Sampdoria didn't take advantage of it, but there was things there where I guarantee you the young guys would have been absolutely lambasted if we got screwed over on counterattacks based on how they were playing, which is move the ball and then they go. Both of those guys in certain situations abandoning their positions. But I've been saying this for Juve last season, and I'm going to say it again this year. You have to pick which one. In one sense, you're going to have to pick your poison, whether it's generate and create less opportunities, or is it risk some counters in order to put pressure and generate more, because we're not going to find this perfect world where we're going to be sound defensively and create 15 to 17 opportunities, like get 15 to 17 shots. It's not going to happen. So you have to give something up in order to take that next step. And I truly, truly believe that that's what's going to come down to. And as far as this hope that when all these other guys come into the mix, Di Maria comes in there and Chiesa, that's just magically going to, change. There is patterns of play that I'm not seeing out of there that needs to be consistent amongst a team that makes it plug and play. Those are kind of my issues, and that's kind of how I feel. And
but last week was so much better. That's what kind of gives me hope, and I disagree with you on that, to say that last week was so much better with the players that he wants to have in there. So it gives me the hope that we can get back to that.
It was better
Max's guys
from a pressure and energy standpoint, but was it truly in terms of patterns of play? I don't think so, because Di Maria did a lot. And these guys were a lot of 1v1s. Sandro was even taking 1v1s, for Christ's sake, and winning them and whatnot. Remember us thinking, where did this Sandro come from? Was it actually better in terms of patterns of play? It was better from an energy and drive standpoint, for sure.
Still better. It's still better, right? But getting to the Miretti comment, I know there was some confusion. There was a lot of people upset post-match on the Allegri comments about Miretti, and you really should just watch the interview where he brings up Miretti.
Let's get into that first, real quick, just for the sake of, if you had to name a man of the match for you, Ant, who would it be?
I'm going to go with Pedin yesterday. That one big save, and he didn't really do much else, but I'm going to give it to Pedin for yesterday, because that changed the match. That goal goes in. I don't see us scoring to tie it. So.
That's funny. I said if I had to pick one, probably Pedin, simply for that save that keeps it level at that point so early on, which the way we played first half probably would have killed us. So yeah, Pedin for man of the match. Now let's get into this with this Allegri interview thing and whatnot. So obviously, and I can't explain why there was accounts that are pretty credible putting these quotes out, and they were completely, yesterday was probably the worst I've seen as far as out of context. Completely out of context. And it's unfortunate, but based on seeing the actual breakdown, true translation, which was done by Count Bianconera Brazil, something like that.
It was in Portuguese.
Very, very well done. But it changes. There were still some problems I had in some of the things, some disagreements I had with some of the things that were said, but much, much better. In terms of saying Zakaria didn't start technically or whatever because of his technical play, he wasn't taking a shot at him. And in terms of the young guys, he was actually praising Miretti because he said he wanted technical ability in short spaces, small spaces. And he said that Miretti holds that over Zakaria in his opinion. So didn't necessarily take a shot at Zakaria. Okay.
No, that was the end. So this is where all the confusion sort of happened. That was the end of his DAZN interview. And that was actually Ciro Ferrara who asked that question. Was it a technical decision or a personnel decision? He just said, hey, listen, it was a technical decision. It was a strategic decision. Miretti offered more of what I needed in that particular moment, and I put him in. That was it. So then he left. And then another gentleman wanted to ask a question. So Allegri came back. He was sort of putting the earpiece back in. And the gentleman asked him about, why don't you play 3 at the back instead of 4? So one, Allegri's still on the field. So you could see some questions he was answering. He was rubbing his face, trying to remember the answer. So this just pissed him off. He was just saying, everyone wants to talk about 3 or 4 or 5. And then he sort of mentioned Miretti I think he more of just like throwing a name out to say, young guys make mistakes. I was yelling at him to pass it back or sideways. He passed it backwards. It was sort of like an offhand comment. And then he went back to like, so it doesn't matter if it's 3, 4, or 5. I just need stability. And so a lot of people took that comment as, oh, he's dumping on Moretti. That wasn't the case at all. He was perturbed. He was already perturbed, and he was perturbed at being asked about formation. So he just kind of threw a name out there in one small instance. So a lot of people blew that one out of proportion for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a couple instances in that interview, though, one talking about keep it simple, yet when you watch that formation play out and how we approach that, and the fact that he had, again, one of the issues I had with Max yesterday is the fact that you've got cooling breaks as well. This is
like
a guy. This is a guy that made his living off tweaking games, making changes, making adjustments that were vital and crucial. And he did it for his whole first tenure with Juve up until the last season. And now yesterday, you've got a situation where he gets opportunities to do this because everybody could see it. We've got, no master technicians drawing up these shapes of Juve that is mind-blowing. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Sampdoria is basically watching us. There was a clip of, I don't know how many minutes, where we literally back and forth around the outside, going absolutely nowhere. I have an expectation of Max, which I think is fair, okay, based on his resume, to change that, especially if you're giving a 25-minute or at 25 minutes, given a cooling break. At the half, even in the second half, that shape, you could still see these guys getting way too far forward, abandoning too soon, and losing in buildup. All in all, Juve just needs to figure out the build-up portion. I'm not worried about this team in counterattacks. I'm not worried about that's the stuff that should come easy. But in just general build-up of play, Juve has to figure it out. When Max says that it's tough against a team that's completely shelled up, did you feel and see Sampdoria completely shelled up?
We were. I saw the team with the black jerseys all shelled up.
I did not think Sampdoria played a game where it was completely shelled up, and we had spaces and opportunities to take advantage, whether it be personnel or it be the shape and setup. We failed to put them under, and that's
realistically, we had them pinned back for 3 minutes, 4 minutes total, sort of like sporadic here and there. I didn't really see that. But another thing that goes back to, and you brought up a great point, and I wish I could count how many times you brought this up. And I really hope, looking forward to the Roma game, that they don't do this, because that's games on Saturday, so we're doing another live show Saturday morning. Maybe Lucci might be here for that one.
He might be in there, and there's going to be a watch along, everybody. First watch along of the season.
There you go. That's going to be a good game, because it'll be interesting to see if Allegri deploys Rabiot and McKennie, because you said a lot last year, and again the pregame show yesterday, you can't have these two guys on the field at the same time. Now, I was a defender of McKennie. I like McKennie. I was always a defender of Rabiot. I know Lou's going to get upset, but him being available, that's why he plays. But obviously, he's not very good. But you can't have those two on the field at the same time. And yes, they proved it.
And I would throw. I've been throwing Zach in there as well. It's Rabiot, McKennie, and Zach for me occupy one position in the middle of the pitch. Without getting a guy like, obviously Pogba's going to be that guy, that creative wave in there and force in there, and he'll be able to help attack and even just his shooting range and whatnot. But if you're going to go out there and it's going to be, 3-man midfield, and you're going to have 2 out of the 3 of those guys, Mac, Zach, and Rabiot, you're giving too much up offensively and in terms of creation.
You're giving all of it up offensively.
And yesterday was just a prime example. And this is another frustration I have with yesterday's game, is because I expect a guy like Max to realize that these guys and the way they were playing, which was right against the back line, like pretty much level in a straight line with Quad, Kostic, and Vlahovic, that's a totally different game. And they can't do that. They're not capable of that. If you look at McKennie's game, what's McKennie's game? McKennie's game is being this energy, this spark plug in the middle that makes these trailing runs into the area and just kind of creates havoc. What's Rabiot's game? Rabiot's game is not to create opportunities. It's not to, even score goals or whatnot. If you're going to have these two out there, where's this creation going to come off? And to put it all on Locatelli, for me, is
let's get to Locatelli.
Let's get to Locatelli. So the latest on Locatelli is that he is not good enough. He is overrated. He is basically junk, according to. And I'm not having any of the Locatelli thrashing that's going on out there. I will not have any of it personally. Ant, I'm going to let you start on Locatelli here.
Yeah, let me start with that one. So we had a lot of discussions in our group chat to say, look at Locatelli with the national team when he has quality around him and he doesn't have to play that Legista role, because obviously Jorginho plays it with the national team. How forward he can get and what damage he can do forward, like his goal against Torino last year. When he has someone to cover that space and he can move forward, he can be that what McKennie has to do when he's on the field. We haven't been able to see that. And we saw a little bit of it in the preseason, a little bit of it last week. But Locatelli for me, is way out of position. He was way out of position yesterday, standing beside Lugani. That is not where we need him. We need him further up the field. And we haven't seen what he can do. And we've seen it in glimpses here and there. But this whole thing about him, like someone just put in here, never slander Luca ever. I 100% agree. Like, I don't get it. I really don't.
So even, and I think that I caught mutual friends of ours of the shows and whatnot saying that even Beppe had said that I don't know if he was referring, because I didn't see him actually word it, but he is either, I don't know if he was referring to him in general total or just reacting to yesterday's game, but calling Locatelli average and whatnot. Here's the thing for me. He is definitely not an average player. Okay. He's proven that with the Azzurri and whatnot. He's proven that with Sassuolo, and he's proven it with us so far. I saw some go as far to say he hasn't even had one good game with Juventus. This is irrational for me to listen to.
Just to comment on that, we did our mid-season review last year in January, and we did our mid-season MVPs. And it was tough because a lot of us were saying it was either De Ligt or Locatelli. Locatelli ran that team the first half of last year, and then he had those injuries later in the year. But he was our only bright spot for most of the first half of last year. But people forget that.
And if we're going to get into Locatelli here, okay, so yesterday, everybody's like, well, he's not in his position. He's not being the link-up, whatnot. He's literally being like, people have to remember there's two teams out there on the pitch. Okay. He's being ruled out, and we had no answers when that happens. Okay. So if you look at this game yesterday, Sampdoria, they play 4-1, 4-1. So Vlahovic was not just dealing with two center backs. He was dealing with that defensive midfielder that was also ahead of him. So he had three guys. What did we do to counteract that? Because if one guy is going to demand the attention of three players, what did we do? Nothing. We left our wideouts super wide in Kostic and Quadrado. The hope was to just cross it in and have Rabiot and McKennie way up the pitch so that we could fill the box. The problem with that is they did it so damn early that Locatelli had absolutely nobody next to him. Okay. He was left there on an island. So now all of a sudden you've got Locatelli with no help, and you've got Vlahovic completely manned out, and we are just stuck so wide. Yesterday would have been an opportunity, and if you were going to make a tweak, to potentially go 4-2-3-1 and get 2 base midfielders and 1 straight up the pipe attacking that could close out those sides and close up that distance and shorten it up. That could have been a way to help things out yesterday based on what we were seeing. But the answer to just get Rabiot and McKennie so far forward was definitely not the one. Locatelli getting absolutely thrashed by Juventus and everybody on that performance and whatnot, when in actuality, when I watched it, he was on a friggin' island, okay? And he tried to get far forward at times as well, and then some of those other guys weren't picking things up. I'm telling you, there was a lot of issues yesterday. I'm not going to write Locatelli off based on that garbage, because I saw more issues in how we approach the game and not making the proper necessary adjustments to cause Sampdoria more issues. That's my take. Leave Locatelli alone, for the love of God. Otherwise, we just don't deserve good things. Like, come on.
I was going to say, you see a lot of this, like you and I, we watch a lot of American football or NFL football. You see a lot of this where they'll double team the best player and they'll scheme to take away the best players. And it's up to the coaches and the players. And same thing happens in European football. The other players have to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And the coach. And that did not happen. They schemed to take Locatelli and Vlahovic out of the game. But now, I will say, Padin was the man of the match, but Kostic, for what he did yesterday and the few moments he had, I think he's going to be a great player as well. I thought he had
I liked what I saw from Kostic.
Yes.
And I think he's going to provide some value there, especially, I mean, and there's still this big unknown as far as when Case is coming back. Mm-hmm. Like, now all of a sudden it's looking more likely like it's going to be January for sure, because they've apparently slowed down the rehab process even furthermore now. Pogba, Max even mentioning it could be longer for Pogba as well, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what develops. But Kostic, I think, showed that he can very, very much help the cause and whatnot. So
he's literally been here a week.
The Locatelli thing just got me fired up, because I don't think that was fair to what happened in the actual game and what was happening. And you nailed it on the head. This goes across many, many different games and sports. But if you've got guys that are demanding attention, okay, like Vlahovic and whatnot, even Locatelli, whatnot, that means that there's opportunities for other guys, okay, to take advantage and do so. We lacked that ability yesterday. Whether you put that on personnel or you put that on coaching is your own perspective on what you were seeing, but there was a problem and it has to be addressed no matter what it is. If it is personnel, because then in the second half, sure, things change with the young guys and whatnot. There is an argument there that, okay, Sampdoria is tired and whatnot, but I'm not really buying it in terms of how Miretti actually played that game, and which is why I see him as needing to be out there to create that variety in a midfield. I've always looked at midfields as groups and not individuals. Like, it has to make sense between all the pieces you have. Miretti gave us what we were lacking out of there. He had the willingness to come back, help get the ball, but then when he dished it off, he was gone. And he was always looking to advance and do so in buildup. Whereas Rabiot and McKennie were advancing rapidly without the ball and without disregard for what was happening in the buildup. It's much, much different. But like I said, even when Rovella, there's a lot of shouts that Rovella is playing regista better than Locatelli right now so far in small glimpses and what we've seen.
Because he's a regista. That's his natural position.
I am telling you, though, against a better team, he plays it in a dangerous manner. Because if we think back to Rovella in Genoa and whatnot, he had the two-man pivot, okay? And he had protection to kind of play a certain way. If he starts playing give and goals like that and starts running off, Sampdoria had opportunities to counter us. And again, they just couldn't take advantage. There is a fine line right now for Juve to make a decision on how they want that position to go, what they want out of it. Locatelli attempted many times to get forward, and he was yelling, he was directing. You could see him direct Rabiot to drop back, be that covered for him as he made the move forward. We got to figure this out. We got to put together who's going to be where and start getting these guys to build a chemistry up, because right now it's scramble. They were scrambling yesterday. They were scrambling to look for answers, and they were trying to do it on the fly. If it was maybe a little more thought out, a little bit more rehearsed, it could maybe be more effective. But there's a lot of work to be done. But the young guys, for as good as they looked, I think it was because of how bad that first half was. And there's still some concerns there, because you do need to risk it. You need to risk a little more to get rewarded, but how much and when, is going to kind of be that fine line with some of these young guys. But I did like what they brought. I will say.
And before we forget, get your Storm the Barn questions in. Don't forget to like the video. We'll hit all the Storm Barn questions at the end of the show. Before we move on to maybe looking a little bit forward to the Roma match and how I'd like to see how you would set up for that match. Want to go? Do we have to go studs up? I think you already went studs up on a whole bunch of.
I kind of already went studs up. Yeah. So I went studs up on everybody. I went studs up on the players because they can't come out flat as a player. Yeah. You still have to have the drive and the work rate. Max, I expect more from Max in terms of adjustments. It doesn't always have to be changing players. Everybody thinks it's changing players. No. And he had the opportunities to do so. I think Max, it's fair to face criticism for yesterday's match. And he's on a short leash this year.
Yep.
And rightfully so, to be honest, because if there's no improvements, and we asked this question a little while ago, is the roster better? Has the roster been upgraded? And I know that yesterday we're looking at guys that are in because, Bonucci's injured and you have Pogba that's out and you have no Di Maria and whatnot. But overall, this team, the roster, it's better. Is it not?
It is better. I'd say head and shoulders better than last season. When everybody's healthy, there's no excuses.
And it's still just looking for that cohesion, that team play. It's just not looking like a bunch of individuals. I'm not asking a lot here, for Christ's sake. I'm not asking a lot. No.
No.
Okay. So we did kind of go studs up. Now we're going to get into some questions. It's interesting because Fez here pretty much asks exactly what I was going to get into with you, Ant. And I was going to say, we've got Roma, which is going to be a doozy of one on Saturday. There's a lot of storylines surrounding this one. And obviously the Dybala thing. And he's going to be after it and whatnot. Us complete 180 from the first match to yesterday's match. Now, still positives in terms of keeping a clean sheet, sure. But we got to do more offensively. The nice thing is, I think Roma's weak at the back, to be honest. And I'm hoping that Juve could take advantage of that. But next match, what do we do? How could we play? Who do you pick in the midfield? This is my question for everybody on the live and you, Anthony. I would say, what do you do in the middle of the pitch?
Well, there's a question of what I would do, and there's a question of what I think is going to happen. So you talked a lot about risk and reward, and so you have the risk of playing the young guys is that they're susceptible to counterattacks because, like you said before, there's a lot of free-flowing play, which is good in terms of going forward. Defensively, there could be a lot of risk there. I would like to see at least Rovella on the field with Locatelli, at least those two in the middle, just to see how we can push Locatelli up. The other one would most likely be Rabiot. Now, with that said, I think he's going to deploy pretty much the same formation that we saw yesterday. I think he's just is that Roma? Is that a home game? It doesn't matter.
I'll tell you right now, Because I can't remember. I feel like I've just been stewing over this result yesterday that it left me blinded there. It's a home match.
It's a home match. Probably doesn't matter. I think he's gonna. He knows he's down. He knows he's down. Max knows he's down his players, and I think he's just gonna deploy the same formation that we saw yesterday, and try and grind out a 1-0 win. I don't think Rome made some good acquisitions this Mercado, but I don't think they have any depth. Yeah. Once you get past that 11, they don't have much. We have depth when nobody's injured, but Saturday, I think he's just going to try and grind out a 1-0 win. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
If I'm looking at this and I need to pick a midfield for this one, I have to say, up until yesterday, I was kind of on the fence with the whole Moretti thing. And I was thinking Fagioli based on the fact that, maybe being a little bit more ready and whatnot. I wouldn't mind all three of these young guys staying, if I have to be completely honest. Mm-hmm. If we don't bring Paredes in, I mean, I'm fine. But although yesterday leads me to believe he could potentially be valuable and maybe Locatelli slotting forward helps a bit more, that's up in the air. But if I have to pick a midfield, I'm going Moretti. I liked the energy because that's an easy situation for a young guy to step into and completely crumble when the rest of your guys are kind of there's no answers, there's no solutions and whatnot. But that determination and drive to kind of help be that answer, I absolutely loved it. And it could have been easy for a young guy to go in that game, enter that game, and be completely anonymous. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, when he came in, he forced that turnover. He did the turnover that gave Rovella his shot on net. So
yeah,
a lot high energy. Well, he's 18 years old. Remember when you were 18? Well, actually, I don't. But
I'm going Moretti, Locatelli, and Zaccaria, to be honest, in my midfield against Roma if I had to choose. And depending on how that game goes, maybe you could make the change and get Locatelli on a side and put Rovella. But I don't think I'd start those two youngsters right out of the gate. I think I'm keeping Locatelli there, and I'm going Moretti, and I'm going Zaccaria. That's how I would do it. Again, everybody's going to have their mixes. There's a lot of shouts for Moretti, Rovella, and Locatelli and whatnot. It's everybody's kind of opinion and whatnot, and it's all good. But that's personally how I would do it in the middle of the park. Do you guys think McKennie is going to suffer the same fate that Dybala did at Juve if we can't find the right position for him? I just don't think we play the way to get the best from him. I think I've said this a lot about McKennie, and even last year, if you remember, myself, Cliff, Luca, always getting into it with McKennie. Positionally, and I don't know if it comes from the setup and whatnot, I see a lot of issues with him positionally. And I don't know. It's like he's got great energy. He's got great work rate, but it takes him in areas he just doesn't need to waste energy, and it throws the rest for a little bit of loop in the middle of the park. I don't think it needs to be that difficult for McKennie. One side in the central midfield, not as an outside player, as a hybrid player, one side of a three-man midfield, and just play it out. None of this trying to be too much pressure and taking them all out of position. Just standard Metsala role, okay, and getting into the box, creating havoc. It doesn't have to be anything more. I don't know if it's instructed or if it's just himself, but he finds himself wasting energy in areas he doesn't even need to bother. What do you think, Ant?
Yeah, when we saw him last year, when he kept things simple and he was just sort of grinding it out, sort of like on a train track. He was kind of in one lane. We said there was a couple games I remember we said he just sort of stayed in his lane, and he was just up and down. That's when he played his best. That's when we got the most out of him. He'd generate chances and he would defend on the other end. So fully agree with that. Just we gotta almost dumb things down to keep him, to get the best out of him. I don't know if we can do that with the complement that we have now, but
yeah,
I don't think he should be sold. I like McKennie if we can get him in his right position. I think he's a functional bench occasional starter.
Yeah. And to be honest, yesterday was a really, really bad showing for McKennie.
Yeah.
And I would not, again, write him completely off, as I would not write any of the other players based on yesterday. Like, it just...
Except Rabiot, maybe.
I expect more from Max to help that group and sort that group. But I do say this: 2 out of those 3 midfielders should not be playing together and simultaneously. And if maybe you have a creative guy in there, maybe McKennie blends into that game a little bit better by creating havoc, and another option that somebody could look for in order to find a target in the area and whatnot. But
one more.
In my personal opinion, we can get very, very quick to write players off. So just let's hang tight. Let's hang tight on that one in terms of McKennie. We're going to carry on here. It looks like there's Lou's got a bit of news here coming in. Something about Max apparently wanted Milik since day one from the beginning of the Mercado. This is coming through Romeo Gresti apparently, but then quickly countered by Allegri wanting both Depay and Paredes and whatnot. It's just, take everything with a grain of salt right now, everybody, especially after mixed results, okay? Because that's when the media knows it's time to ramp it up and get that extra attention when there's turmoil. And right now, during a draw, there's turmoil. We'll just take it easy.
Clicks, want the clicks.
Yeah. Dells, do you think Allegri can actually be sacked without Agnelli following? He was sacked for poor play the first time, and Agnelli brought him back so surely. If Max fails, he has to fall on his sword too. So we actually discussed this early on. It kind of rubbed some people the wrong way that we were talking about the potential failure again, but it's the reality we face, right? Max is on a short leash, whether some like it or not. Does Agnelli have to take them? We asked this exact question. Does he have to take the fall on this one with Max? It's his guy. Yes, Agnelli has a board consisting of John Elkann and other members ahead, like on top of him. They would have had to clear the move as well. But this is Agnelli's guy. And Agnelli also chose Pirlo the season before. So not only did he bring in Pirlo and then quickly went back to Max, but does he have to kind of take the fall in terms of this? Would it be misdirection and whatnot, and maybe lack of direction? Anth, what are your thoughts on this Agnelli thing and his involvement?
Is the question here, do I think if Max goes, then the club would also get rid of Agnelli? Because that's not happening. Like, he's the owner. He's not going anywhere. I know some people are saying, oh, we got to mix things up. I know there's some...
He would still be the owner, but it's acting president, right?
Okay.
It's a tough
no. I really don't. Yeah, I don't see that happen. I think Arriva Bene could have been doing great work, fantastic work. Maybe when Agnelli gets a little bit older, he's going to say, I don't want to deal with this day to day anymore. Once this Super League finally happens or doesn't happen, I think he's probably sticking around a lot for that, trying to grow the club even more. No, I don't see Agnelli going anywhere. I see Allegri again on a short lease, like you said, but no, I don't see Agnelli going anywhere in the near future anyways.
Yeah, so this is it's a tough one, and it's a very, very interesting one, because ultimately somebody needs to be held accountable at some point and degree. The board makes the final yes or no on the calls being made. So you're not going to hold the board accountable and just say, because Agnelli has a board above him also okaying the final decisions, that, oh, okay, well, we're going to hold all of that. That's not going to happen. Shit flows downhill, everybody. So here you go. Agnelli, it's for all the great he's done. Look, I can't tell you enough, Agnelli, and what he's taken us from and put us through and whatnot. But that thought is always there with people that, Allegri's kind of facing it. You stay long enough that you become a villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Agnelli's kind of flirting with that for the first time, because obviously all of this and a lot of Juventini continue to not see the end game, the direction, right, that we're going in. So a lot of fans spoke out about bringing Max back, and it's tough times. It's tough times. We will just have to wait and see on that one. But do I think it'll happen? I don't actually believe that he would go. Would I do that or not? That's a hard one to answer. It's a hard one to answer because I see him. I think here's my true thought with Cherubini and Arriva Bene there. I think it becomes a lot easier based on what I'm seeing out of how those guys operate. It becomes a lot easier for Agnelli to do what he needs to do, which is just stick to the business. Mm-hmm. Stick to the business side of things. Let these guys worry about the operations, the players, and even management. Like, I think it needs to fall in line. Like, there needs to be a little bit more of synchronicity.
Like a shuffle.
And if Max says that they all share the same wavelength right now, and obviously he's going to say that, and you got to take it for his word and whatnot. But I got this sense about Arriva Bene that the next manager that would come in would fall more in his old school line of thinking and methodology and whatnot. And would it be better or not? Obviously, who knows, right? But
here we go.
I think it becomes easy. Okay, so Jeremiah, perfect timing. God, you guys are good. You guys are good. Get those likes up, okay? Get those likes up. Fantastic live chat as always. Can this team perform better under another top quality manager? What do you guys think? Do you want to start this, Ant? Do you want me?
Sure. The way this squad currently is with the roster and who's in and who's out, no. I don't think another manager will be able to find something out of this team. Out of that starting lineup yesterday, I don't think another manager will be able to find something for Rabiot McKinney to do that would miraculously unlock these like goal scoring abilities. So I would say no. Because another manager, you have to give another manager a year or two to find his guys. So as much as we're kind of dumping on Max, we're sort of not giving him his due to play with his players, because again, he's still playing with the players. Really, who's there that he added yesterday? Vlahovic, Kostic, and Bremer. Other than that, that's not his team.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I struggle because I have this belief that bare minimum is to have game plans, flexibility, and an ability for a team, no matter what players are out there, to try and attempt the same ideas and patterns and whatnot. And I'm just not seeing that. Can this team perform better under another top quality manager? From what I've learned with these past 3 seasons is that I think things change. Does it change for the better? I think some things might change for the better, and some things could actually be worse. So it's finding, honestly, that balance and that mix. But right now, Max is going to be under fire this year. He is going to be under fire this year. That was always going to be the way when the management worked, a way to bring in Vlahovic in January when, it was completely unexpected. Bringing in quality like Di Maria, regardless if it's free and he's 35 years old, the guy's quality, Pogba, whatnot. The injury thing is an issue that's is it out of Max's hands if it's his training staff or whatnot? Like, that's at some point, the management, the coach, everything, they got to figure this out with the injuries. Okay. It's got to get better. The amount of muscular injuries we face year in and year out, while another top club in Europe had close to the same number we had last season, and they made a full wholesale changes and they cut it in half. They cut it in half one season. We need to do the same, and we need to look at our methods. But this is difficult. It's difficult when you have injuries to key guys and whatnot, but I still need more personally as a group from the team.
So speaking of the injuries, that was brought up in our Discord group. If you're not part of the Discord group, Maybe someone on the
link is in the chat or in the description. The link is in the description to this video. Come join us. It's awesome.
Yeah, you really get some behind the scenes of what we actually think, other than, but it's pretty much what we say on this show. But there's a lot of the viewers here are in there. I've recognized a lot of the names, and they've who was it that sent was it Dells who sent or Animesh who sent the charts of
Animesh sent those charts immediately before they hit Twitter and whatnot, and it was great. It was a great insight, and we gave credit to Animesh on the tweet and stuff. We love stuff like that, guys. It's amazing. So the Discord's actually been very, very fun, and I've been enjoying it. And obviously the team members are in there, and we're mixing it up, and it just carries things on, because sometimes 1 hour, an hour, 10 minutes just isn't enough. Sometimes it's just not enough.
So let's blast through a couple more here. Let's help Swarit out here. So yesterday I was reading a report that Chiesa might be excluded from the Champions League group stage squad list. Has our management gone mad? No, they have not. Remember, you can update your squad list in January. So if you make it to the group stage, you can, I think you're allowed 3 changes, 3 or 4. You're allowed to switch up your squad. So that this just makes complete sense from the management to exclude him, because he won't be able to play, because you're
this kind of maybe sheds a little more light on return time, because you can make the changes obviously after that and whatnot. So again, it makes the Kostic signing very, very important, and we need to get Di Maria back. In terms of up top, I want Depay. I want Depay coming in, and Depay.
Yeah, we haven't. Here's the thing: we know that we need this player, right? But we haven't shown anything on the field to say, "Oh, look, Depay would do better in this situation." We just know that we need a backup or some assistance to Vlahovic. We haven't needed it yet, but we know that we're going to need it. It's one of those things where, like, you have to change the oil in your car, because you're probably going to blow the engine sooner or later if you don't. So remember, kids, get that oil changed. Let's see if we have any more storm.
I want to throw this out here right now for Juventini, is that Romeo Agresti apparently has put out that through intermediaries, Juventus has re-entered the Mercato for a left back. Okay.
So that's interesting, because the other day, I think it was yesterday or the day before, there was a news source, I think we posted as well, Frabotta coming back. The loan he was coming back from Lecce. Was that not what I saw yesterday? Someone helped me out. I think Lou posted that. We were talking about that they were going to recall Frabotta for left back, but then immediately loan him back out, which was weird. So someone help me out with that. I know I'm not crazy. I saw that.
Did not see that. So I got to, can't help you on that one, man. But hey, the left back thing, let's go. Like, let's get in there. 8 days left. 8 days left of the Mercato.
That's it.
A left back is it's needed, in my opinion, and it will help things as well. But up top, we might need if we just can't seemingly pick this thing up collectively, then bring the best available guy that you can get if you're gonna be banking on the individuals to carry it up, right? But we need some help in quality and attack. This question came up yesterday, even on the Matchday Live. Not everybody that's here now was with the Matchday Live, so I want to ask you guys again in live chat and Anth, are you happy and okay if this midfield remains as is?
With everybody healthy, yes. With everybody healthy, and I'm okay keeping, obviously I've said this a couple times, I'm okay keeping Rovella and Meretti. Yes, if with everybody healthy, I'm okay with the midfield and the defense the way it is, but we do need one more attacker.
Yeah. So there we are. There we are. You
a lot of no's.
Roma this weekend.
Hang on. Yeah. So
nobody's really okay with the midfield. Wow.
With everybody healthy, I'm all right with it.
And to be honest, I think it's because of how it's been deployed. Everybody.
That's right. If it's deployed properly, I think we have the right players.
We have to find the right mix. If you actually spread them across, and if you did them like for likes, Luca and Rovella, Fagioli, Miretti, Pogba, Zach, McKennie, Rabiot, you can come up with some very well-balanced units, okay? Gianluca helping you out. Come on, Gianluca, well done. So he's technically come back, but loaned out again. I mean, Frabotta's not going to be our answer.
Thank you.
But there you go. Max needs to find the right mix. Max needs to find the right mix in the middle, okay? Roma this weekend. This is going to be a barn burner.
That's one way of putting it.
There we go. It's going to be a barn burner. We've got to this is going to be a good one for us. We got to get the job done. So Roma's got obviously struggled yesterday with Cremonese, get the job done. Zaniolo with an unfortunate knock again, landing on his shoulder. Okay, dislocation. I'm very, very familiar with that. That's not making him injury prone. So it just kind of makes me laugh that not that I really care what everybody's thinking or saying or whatever about him, because I'm so focused on Juve right now once the season starts. But, you know, they were like, well, look, Juve wanted to sign him and whatnot, and he's injury prone. Landing on your shoulder awkwardly to dislocate it does not qualify you as injury prone.
Friend of the show, Chris DeSantis, big Roma supporter. You know, he's a good follow on Twitter. He's good to converse with. Immediately after this happened, he posted a tweet talking about how landing on your shoulder doesn't make you injury prone. I felt bad for the guy because now he has to deal with his own fans. On how to explain that. Good guy.
He is a good guy, and I like the banter, and we get into it. And maybe I'll see if he can join for maybe the match day live this weekend or whatnot. Be interesting. Yep. He's a good felt he was doing content, kind of let off, I think. But we also have Gianni from Calcio Guys, who for some reason supports Roma and Napoli. It was a funny story though when he did join me. We might bring him on. Maybe we'll mix it up and bring the enemies. Bring them in to our den and see what happens. But Roma this weekend is big for Juventus. Mm-hmm. They need to follow it up with, again, I'm looking for the bare minimums coming against Roma. I'm looking for the energy. I'm looking for the drive, and I'm looking for that determination. Like I need to see that bare minimum. I need to see them start to work together and as a unit. So that's all I'm asking. What happens from there? We will see how the game itself plays out. But Roma is there for the taking, in my personal opinion. And we should not be in a method or a mode where we're fearful of Roma, okay? Their attack, great. I know the names. I know what's capable up there. But honestly, we need to figure out our guys, because we can make ourselves feared among Serie A and other teams, but it's up to us. We have to figure ourselves out, okay? And we need to stop getting into this method where we are almost fearful of these other teams to a point where it allows us to not even focus on our game and what we need to do and get better. But there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. I'm not quite so sure why there was such a drastic difference in approach, mentality, and whatnot from one home match to one away match. Let's see what the weekend brings, but we're going to be live Saturday morning getting you ready for it. And I'm going to be doing a watch along, and I got a lot of fun stuff for that watch along too. So you're going to want to stay tuned. The names of the ones that are going to be basically taking part in the trivia challenge will be posted on YouTube in a post coming up. Okay. Probably tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to post the names, and then we're going to sort out the details on how the trivia challenge is going to take place. And maybe, just maybe, some of those participants will be playing for other people and other subscribers. That's right. So there might be the potential for more than 3 kits to be given.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, because good thing I'm not playing, because I would completely lose for whoever I'm playing with. So everyone,
there you go.
You've lucked out. I'm not playing.
Maybe.
You're welcome.
So there you go. This weekend, let's hope we can get back in the win column, okay, against Roma. We're going to bring you, I'll bring you the daily updates leading up until Saturday. Then we're back match day live and then post-match podcast. Everybody that tuned into this on audio, get your ass over to YouTube. What the hell are you doing? It's been long enough.
What's the matter with you?
Get subscribed. Let's go. We're on the road to 3K. Let's make it happen. Thank you, everybody, for your continued support. Everybody always asks, how do we support more? Check out the links in the video to the new storefront for Striped Hearts, okay, with new merch, the Principino design. Unreal. We got the 10 for Ale. Good stuff. That's a way to support us. The other way, obviously, stay subscribed, but sharing the content goes a long way, okay? So for everybody that already has gotten involved and supported the online store and the merch, many, many thanks. Hope you enjoy the gear. Yeah, let's keep this train rolling, okay? We'll see you all live this weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. Regardless, forget about yesterday. Let's move on to Roma. That's the next one, and it's a big one. Fino alla fine, Forza Juventus, no matter what, okay? But Max, sort it out.
Hey. Don't.
Sort it out. Ciao tutti.